All right, we just spoke to Kailihle Khumalo out in Harare in Zimbabwe as it's voting day in that country, so we'll cross back to him a little later on. But we now cross back to Sandton, where the 15th BRICS Summit is currently underway, and we cross to my colleague Sakina Kamuendo, who is out at the Sandton Convention Centre. Very good morning to you, Sakina. Over to you.
Good morning, Simpiwe. Thank you so much. And of course, welcome back to Sandton. And as I promised earlier, I'm now in conversation with the Minister of Small Business Development, Minister Stella and Ndabeni-Abrahams. Minister, thanks so much for coming through so early in the morning. But of course, important matters that need to be discussed, because this is such a fabulous opportunity, you know, having not just the BRICS member states here, but so many other representatives from other countries across the world. So just your first impressions on this gathering and whoever is here.
Well, firstly, let me give everyone some respect. I must say, first of all, we have about 53 heads of states. That has never been seen in the African continent. What that tells you is that their business counterparts are also here, but we have people who are here only to just participate in the conference, which will then in turn talk to tourism aspect. That brings a lot even to the small businesses wherever they are at. So for me, this is an exciting platform wherein South Africa has an opportunity to participate with other bigger economies for the benefit of Africa and our country. I believe that we are on the step to the right direction.
And a step in the right direction would mean that South African small businesses, which of course should be the lifeblood of kickstarting this economy, should be benefiting, should be unlocking opportunities at an event such as this, and especially the events leading up to this conference that we're sitting at right now. There have been quite a few events at Gallagher Estate, and before that some inward delegations, inward buying delegations that have come to the country, gone to the different provinces. So how has that played out? How has that supported small business in the country?
We have had roadshows for small businesses with BRICS countries, and this has exposed them, not only for them to be able to showcase their products, but to get to tell their stories of the frustrations of when they want to do business with these countries. What is it that is hindering them from being able to trade with other countries? That was the first hurdle. Now we have the BRICS Business Council working with the Women in Business Alliance in BRICS, looking at all the aspects, because we had agreed we're not going to have a separate work stream for small businesses. We need to coexist. Big businesses at all times must know that there's a role for small businesses to help them not only drive transformation, but also to create jobs. Now bringing all those together, those work streams, meant that small businesses can have their own say, to say these are the frustrations. We want to tap into this. This is the talent that we have. Therefore, we want you to hold our hands in order to do what we can do. But the other aspect, as we did all of those, showcasing the works that they do, you've just spoken about Gallagher. We have more than 200 exhibitors that are there. It's not only an opportunity to showcase products, it's an opportunity for networking. And of course, as business, we believe in clinching deals. That's what we want to see at the end of the day. Right now, the heads of states are meeting. The respective ministers have met, and there's lots of negotiations that talk to say, how do we take all these engagements to practicality? How do we make sure that they can be able to change the economic status of each individual that is participating in business? And that's what we're looking at. On top of whatever that we have as the big business, we're then saying, let's build an SMME bridge. What does it mean that you are saying you're going to invest in automotive sector, for example, as India, we're going to take certain parts in the automotive space? Where is the role of big business? How do we then say, when you bring clothing, if you are going to invest in the textile, all we want is buttons for small businesses, so that there is a niche in each and every aspect of the segments that we are servicing.
It is, of course, a noble idea, and one would imagine in an ideal world that would be perfect. But I can't help but wonder whether small businesses actually being heard in the space where they are in the same room with big business. How do we ensure that this is not just another talk shop? And by that I mean, if we take, for example, the bilateral discussions between South Africa and China yesterday, there is a clear outcome. You have the memorandums of understanding that are signed. Are we looking at something like that where we can say we didn't just showcase our products, we didn't just have a talk shop, but these are the actual deals that small businesses have clinched with other small businesses or big business from some of the member states in attendance?
Well, Sakina, the memoranda of understanding can be broader, but as I'm saying, we agree that in each and every agreement that we are signing, let there be an SMME bridge to say what will be the contribution towards small business development and access to market. You may have listened to President of Russia, President Putin. You may have listened to the President of India. They all emphasizing the need to invest in small businesses. This is why I'm saying we are now unbundling the value chains to say here it's going to be the big businesses, but where do small businesses play in order for them to be able to participate? All the heads of states that spoke here yesterday, they emphasized one thing: the need to be inclusive in the financial sector, the need to be able to trade equally amongst each other as the partners, but more so the need to invest in small businesses, because they are certain about one thing: we all need to create jobs for our people, and it is only small businesses that can create jobs. The big business will tell you, they present that report themselves to say in the studies they have conducted, many jobs came from small businesses. This is why all of a sudden you see a sudden change to say they are prepared to unbundle their global value chains in order to give space to small businesses. So it's not just talk shop, we're trying to put action into it, and we'll be following up after the summit.
I'm following with you. We are going on the road with you, Minister, so that we can actually see this in practice, because I think it's important. It's all good and well to speak, in abstract terms, and I say abstract because for people on the ground, if they can't actually see it, if they're not feeling the impact, it's all abstract.
I agree.
So with regard to that, your own ministry for the longest time was seemingly playing catch up with other ministries because of when it was set up. So in terms of giving expression to these ideals, how is your ministry faring in terms of, let's start with the capacity, because that was always a problem.
Well, I'm pleased to announce that at least we are filling up on the vacancies that we have had, because the department has never had a stable structure. It was a startup structure. Now our structure has been approved. We have just filled in our vacancies at the DDG level. We only have one outstanding. We continue to fill in our vacancies. Hopefully, by the end of the year, all the entire organogram will be filled. But I want you to note this. The work of small businesses cannot entirely be dependent on the department. The department at policy level must be the champion to create that conducive environment. Our responsibility is to coordinate all sectors in government and in the private sector towards development of small businesses. If you go to the NDP, it's very clear. South Africa create new jobs by 2030, 11 million. 90% of that should come from small businesses. How do we then rally the entire society towards that 90%, which translates to 9 million jobs that must be created to small businesses?
Have you been tracking that?
We are tracking that.
How are we faring?
We're not doing very well, as I said. We look at the legislative environment that is there, because we must use the legal prescripts to bind others. It's not easy. People will be talking about it, but it's not easy to do it because they're still comfortable with the status quo. Now, we said you are not compliant with the BBBEE. There's the ESD component that says your 3% must go towards enterprise supplier development. That's meant for co-creation and bringing the small businesses on that side. Whilst people are focusing only on funding mechanisms for small businesses, there's a critical element that is always overlooked: business development support. You can't be given 10 million if you have never handled 100 million. 100,000. You won't know how to use it. Therefore, we need to nurture you by providing a pre-investment support before you access your product.
I'm glad you touched on that, because I remember more than a few years ago now, there were grants that were handed out, not by your department, it was the Department of Trade and Industry at that point. Again, a lot of secrecy around that. Like, there had to be quite a strong push for that information to be made public. And it was huge grants, for businesses to start up. But then, in terms of accessing funding for small businesses, that has been a perpetual problem for small businesses. If we open the lines now, you will be inundated, because seemingly that continues to be a struggle. You have these various entities that are set up to fund small business development, but how do people actually get access to that in an equitable way?
Well, the first thing is to take information to the people, as I said. Although we're providing those grants, we're inward looking, which is why we said when we develop policies, they're not meant for government. They're meant for the intended beneficiaries. If they don't know about those interventions, it means we're not adding value. That's just why if you go to our National Integrated Small Enterprise Development Master Plan, it's clearly saying we've got to take an ecosystem approach. What is my role? What is your role? What is her role? What is it that the ecosystem requires for a small business to be functional? And we are beginning to pick up. One other challenge that we have, small businesses are not really organized to find different segments. It doesn't assist, and we've raised this with those that we met with in terms of the chambers. When they are organized as the different sectors, we're then able to say what are the challenges faced by small businesses in the tourism sector, and therefore we're able to deal with the respective policy department that must address this, and then we go to the industry. We are trying to do that now. We're engaging everyone, as I'm saying. But at the center of it is the will from the entrepreneurs to participate in legislative making processes, something they take for granted. When you want to trade at whatever level, you need a permit from the municipality. Now, if you don't pay attention to the bylaws of the municipality, you can be excluded from trading.
But Minister, let's be honest. The municipalities at various levels are dysfunctional. You can go to any municipality. I challenge you to go to any municipality right now and look at the LDCs in those municipalities and see whether they are fit for purpose and whether they actually are doing what they are set up to do. And I will put my head on the block and say that the majority of them don't even understand why they exist.
I fully agree with you, to your surprise. I fully agree. We have not done well in investing in local economic development in these areas. This is why we're taking a shift. For example, if you look at how the governing party did things when we were preparing for appointment of mayors, one of the critical questions, we needed to assess those that are going to be mayoral candidates on their understanding of local economic development. Because this is what drives the economy. This is what must influence, including spatial planning. How do you make sure that in your spatial plan, you're going to put here a business sector, you're going to put a mall and this and that, but how do you include all of that to say, my strategy for this municipality is so that when we come from the province, when we come from national or the investors, there's a clear plan that says, here are the economic growth drivers in our municipality. Yes, we've failed to do that prior. We are trying to address that. As the department, for example, we have then partnered with the National School of Government to say, can you create a program wherein we bring all these LED practitioners, including their political heads, to this program that they joined with the University of Johannesburg. Let them be taught what is LED and what is the importance of it in helping the municipality plan its IDP.
Because that is the coalface of the matter. We're sitting here at the BRICS Summit, but not everybody is able to access your office, let alone higher level officers, with regard to BRICS activities. So at the local government level, that is where there should be expression given to what we are talking about at BRICS. But is local government included here? Are they here? In what capacity?
Well, we are working with COCTA as the principal department. I know that I've seen some of the mayors from certain metros that are participating. Not all mayors were invited because we are oversubscribed, as you would know. But as I'm saying, we've had engagements across all sectors to say, what is your feeling? What are the gaps? How does it impact on this trade that we want to drive as the BRICS? So we're bringing all stakeholders into that. They may not all be represented here, but remember, we're still chairing until the end of the year. We're going to continue with the engagements, and that must lead into this that I'm talking about, the transformation that we want to see. But it's about us saying, how do we change our economic policies to suit what works for us on the ground, and therefore exploit the opportunities that are presented by the parties. But at the center of that is a fully functional local government, and Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams is doing all her best to work with those municipalities. As I said, there are clear plans and interventions that are set in place, whilst we're also coming from the economic side.
Our time is up, but ultimately it comes to the ease of doing business, simplifying things for the man on the street, because that's where the small business is going to come from. So can we have an undertaking? And we as Morning Live I'm saying, and my bosses will rack me over the knuckles, but can we walk this path with you in order to really practicalize, if that's a word, what you do at small business level, because that's how the economy is going to be grown?
We would welcome that, Sakina. We really want to let you hear from the people that we work with. We have taken a stance as the department. We don't want to be telling their stories. Let them tell the difference that they see. But ours is to create a conducive environment. We're putting legislations in place. We're repealing those ones that are restricting. And we're hoping to work with you. As I said, hopefully by the time we come back next time, you would have heard from the SMMEs that there's a slighter difference, even though not in full context.
And that's what we are hoping for. Thanks so much for your time this morning, Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, the Minister of Small Business Development in the country, and of course very important stakeholder in terms of giving expression to what BRICS is about. With that, it's back to studio. Simfiwe has got your headlines.